Alright, guys. Chad Doerman is back in the news. So, his lawyers are trying to say that his privacy, Miranda rights, and HIPAA rights were violated during the time he gave his confession. And I'm going to read an article here. You can actually find it on WCPO.com. A Claremont County judge will soon have to decide whether any rights of Chad Doerman, accused of shooting his 3 young sons to death in the summer of 2023, were violated in the hours and days after his arrest. Officials with the Claremont County Sheriff's Office announced not long after Doerman's arrest that he confessed to shooting 4-year-old Hunter, 7-year-old Clayton, and 3-year-old Chase execution style. Despite this, Doerman pleaded not guilty in court on June 23rd. The attorneys of Chad Doerman filed a motion to suppress evidence, including his alleged confession, claiming deputies in the Claremont County Sheriff's Office ignored Doerman's request for a lawyer and interrogated him for 3 hours anyway. During a Wednesday morning hearing that stretched over 4 hours, Doerman's attorneys and prosecutors questioned officers, deputies, and medical professionals who came into contact with Doerman in the moments before and after his arrest. The state maintains Doerman's constitutional rights were upheld, but his defense attorney argued his Miranda and HIPAA rights were violated. 2 of the first deputies to arrive at Doerman's home on Laurel Lindell Drive on June 15, 2023, were put on the stand to testify, both describing the moments depicted in body camera footage released shortly after the murders. The defense pointed out that at some point a detective arrived on scene who used aggressive language towards Doerman. Both deputies confirmed having heard the detective's comments. He asked if that was Mr. Doerman in the back of the car, said the deputy. Okay, are those the words he used? Said the prosecutor. I think he said, is that MFer in the back of the car, said the deputy. The second deputy testified that detective had also said deputies should shut the vehicle door before I kill that MFer. That detective was later one of the officers involved in interrogating Doerman, though he was not called in to speak during the hearing. A different detective, Mike Ross, did take the stand. He was the detective leading Doerman's interrogation. Doerman's defense attorneys specifically targeted Ross's handling of Doerman's Miranda rights at the beginning of the interrogation. Doerman did not sign a printed waiver of his Miranda rights. Ross instead delivered the Miranda reading verbally, reading from a card, he said in court. You did not read all the Miranda rights on your card, did you? Said one of Doerman's attorneys. Word for word, no, said Ross. Well, you left out some pretty important parts, didn't you? Said the attorney. No, I think I covered the important parts, and he understood that he had the right to an attorney, and that he had the right to an attorney if he could not afford one. Those are the important parts, said Ross. You did say you have a right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions, but the part on the card goes on to say, and to have a lawyer with you during questioning, said the attorney. You did not read that part, did you? No, said Ross. The defense attorney points out that while Ross informed Doerman he would be provided an attorney if he could not afford one, he failed to read a portion of the card that says if Doerman could not afford one, one would be appointed before any questioning. "I'm not a robot," said Ross multiple times in response to questions about why he hadn't just read the Miranda rights card in its entirety. Ross said he already believed Doerman was willing to speak with him because earlier, before the Miranda rights were read, Doerman had already verbally and non-verbally said yes when asked if officers could speak with him. Around 5 minutes later in the interview with Ross, Doerman brought up wanting to wait for a lawyer. "I'll wait for a lawyer," said Doerman, according to the defense's motion. "I really don't know. Give me a couple of days and let me talk to a lawyer so I can get nice good answers." Ross: "I understand. Do you have a lawyer?" Doerman: "We have family lawyers." Ross: "Who is that? Is there somebody I can call?" Doerman: "Keith Doerman." Ross: "Is he related to you?" Doerman: "Yes." Ross: "How is Keith related to you?" Doerman: "My dad. Ruby Franklin, she is in the CIA." Ross: "Is she a lawyer? Is Ruby a lawyer?" Doerman: "She is in the CIA." Ross: "I know, I heard you say that, but I didn't know maybe if she was a CIA attorney but you said your dad is a lawyer." Doerman: "We have a family lawyer." Ross: "All right, but you don't know who that is." Doerman: "No." Ross said in court that between Doerman saying "I don't know" just after mentioning a lawyer and his inability to name a lawyer he wanted to call, Doerman's intent to request counsel was not clear at that time. "I mean, you don't think the rule is if he doesn't name a lawyer, he doesn't get one, do you?" said the defense attorney, pointing out the public defender's office could have been contacted if Doerman did not already have a lawyer he could name. Ross again said he believed Doerman had muddied the waters by saying he didn't know and mentioning people who were not lawyers. Following Ross, multiple others testified on the stand in court, specifically to incidents where deputies within the Claremont County Jail recorded meetings between Doerman and medical or mental health professionals through their body-worn cameras. Ultimately, Doerman's attorneys claim those officers violated his right to privacy by inserting themselves into what should have been private, confidential discussions and recording them. Defense attorneys alleged those recordings were a violation of HIPAA rights. At the conclusion of the hearing, the judge said he would review each side's case over the next month. The judge said there were several things he'd need to consider before deciding if Doerman's confession or recordings made of him with medical staff would be considered admissible in court. Specifically, he said he'd need to research whether HIPAA is a constitutional right, like Miranda rights, and whether rights to privacy provided by HIPAA extend to inmates at all times. "I think the law is clear. They don't surrender all their privacy rights when they walk through a jail door," said the judge. But he added that it's also understood that inmates are not provided all the same guarantees of privacy as someone who is not incarcerated. In total, Doerman faces 21 separate charges connected to his alleged actions on June 15, 2023. He is charged with 9 counts of aggravated murder, 8 counts of kidnapping, and 4 counts of felonious assault. He has been held in the Claremont County Jail on a $20 million bond since his arrest. All right, so that's the article. So let's talk about it a little bit. Does this surprise you that they're trying to get these things thrown out? I mean, it really doesn't surprise me. I knew they were going to go down that avenue of trying to get the confession thrown out. But is this worrisome? I mean, I think even if the confession got thrown out, I think they've still got him. But what worries me is the Miranda rights and the HIPAA rights thing. Because I mean, it kind of sounds like they did violate some rights. I hate to say that. This guy is a monster. And he needs to rot in prison forever. But the Miranda rights should have been read in full. And it's a shame that the police officer didn't do that. I understand it was a really bad situation. Claremont County doesn't see crimes like this very often. It was rushed. It was hurried. There was a lot going on at that time. If you watch the body cam footage of this going down, you get the idea that it's a lot going on. But you have to do your job, and you have to do it in its entirety. So I think that was a major screw up there by not reading that full, card to him. And the whole lawyer thing, I'm not really sure if they're going to get in trouble with that one or not. It's possible. But the HIPAA rights, depending on what the judge discovers as far as like rights that, people, criminals, what kind of rights they have with that. I don't know. Is this something that's different than what we've seen before? I don't know that I've heard of HIPAA rights being called into question for an inmate, but certainly it sounds like they could have been violated if the judge rules that he did have these HIPAA rights. And some of you probably know more about all the HIPAA rights than I do. But let's just pull this up. So HIPAA allows correctional facilities to obtain or use protected health information if necessary for providing health care to an inmate, for the health and safety of inmates, officers, or staff, and for the administration and maintenance of the safety, security, and good order of the correctional institution. So basically, some of this information can be used even if it's considered like private protected information, but only if it's needed to be used for keeping the inmate safe or other people safe. And I don't think that's what was going on here. So they may end up getting into trouble for that. So basically, this is not the best situation. I think most of us following this case, we want to see some justice done here for these little boys. And if you're not familiar with the case, check out my previous video I did after the shooting happened. It gives you some details on, what was going on, what happened. But most of us, at least here in Ohio, we're aware of the case. We're following the case. And this is just not good news. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. I definitely want to follow up again and in a month's time see what the judge had to say. But again, if they throw out the confession, I still think they have him. I don't think that's going to be the huge problem here. I think these other things could potentially be a problem. So basically, I would like to know what you all think. Do you think that there was a violation of rights here? And is it going to really impact this case? Did they really screw up on this one? So just leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And as always, like, share, and subscribe for future content. Thanks.